Heartbreak and disbelief after a double murder-suicide rocks a small town. Loved ones finding the bodies of relatives.
Hello there. Welcome to the Truly Criminal Network. We are excited to have you here.
What I can say is to know Deja is to love her.
Police are asking the public's help locating a man wanted for murder connected to last week's shootings on Bonnell Drive.
2 women died as a result of that shooting. And News 19's Carmen Fuentes is joining us now with what we know this morning. Carmen.
Yeah, Kelly, Steve, Huntsville police releasing this photo of Ty Stevens yesterday. The department saying they have 2 capital murder warrants for Stevens related to those deadly shootings on Bonnell Drive. Back on August 28th, both Deja Morris and Sequoia Lamar were killed in that shooting. And Major Crimes Unit investigators believe Stevens may be in the Anniston, Alabama or Columbia, South Carolina area.
What's up, y'all? I'm back with another video. Let me just stop. What's up, y'all? I'm back with another. Bro, I'm finna get pissed off. What's up, y'all? I'm back, and today we finna do a challenge, and I'm gonna introduce her because y'all know it's my girlfriend. Period. So today we got some.
Hearts across TikTok stopped beating in August 2023 when news broke that one of the platform's rising couples had been gunned down in their Huntsville, Alabama home. Sequoia Monet Lamar, 20, and Deja Monique Morris, 24, had built a devoted following with their authentic love story, playful chemistry, and genuine connection that resonated with viewers seeking real romance amid the often superficial world of social media. Their TikTok account, which showcased daily glimpses into their relationship, had become a digital phenomenon. Fans tuned in religiously to watch their dance challenges, relationship advice sessions, and intimate moments that displayed a love many described as goals. What made Sequoia and Deja stand out from countless other couples on the platform wasn't elaborate production or staged moments. It was their undeniable authenticity and the visible joy they found in each other's company. "They weren't trying to be anyone else," said one loyal follower in the comment section of their final video. "You could tell their connection was real. That's why we all loved them." The couple's content ranged from lighthearted pranks to heartfelt conversations about building a relationship on trust and communication. Their most popular videos, which often garnered millions of views, showcased their ability to make even mundane moments, cooking dinner together, singing along to songs in the car, or simply lounging at home, seem magical through their obvious affection for one another. Sequoia, described by her mother Shameka King as a vibrant soul whose presence brought joy and inspiration, was the more outgoing of the duo. Her infectious laugh and bold personality drew viewers in, while her compassionate nature kept them coming back. In videos where the couple answered follower questions, Sequoia often spoke about her dreams of using their platform to help others and spread positivity. Deja, known as the star of her family according to her brother Dantes Morris, complemented Sequoia perfectly with her steady presence and thoughtful insights. She was often the one behind the camera, capturing Sequoia's spontaneous moments, though fans consistently urged her to step into the spotlight more often. When she did, their chemistry doubled, with comment sections flooding with praise for the pair's natural rapport. "Deja had this way of looking at Sequoia that made you believe in love," wrote another fan. "You couldn't fake that kind of admiration." Their road to TikTok fame had humble beginnings. Starting their account just to document their daily lives together, neither anticipated the swift growth in their following. As roommates who became partners, their transition from friendship to romance had played out partly online, giving followers an investment in their journey. This authentic evolution of their relationship distinguished them from influencers who manufactured content solely for views. The young women shared a modest home on the 4400 block of Bonnell Drive in Huntsville, Alabama, a neighborhood described by residents as close-knit and friendly. Their apartment, which frequently appeared in their videos, became familiar to followers. The cozy living room, with its distinctive blue couch where they filmed relationship Q&As, the small kitchen where they created cooking content, and the backyard where they hosted gatherings with friends that sometimes made it onto their feed. Their content often featured interactions with neighbors and community members, showcasing the women's integration into their local environment. Sequoia and Deasia highlighted Huntsville's small businesses, parks, and events, inadvertently becoming unofficial ambassadors for their city. Local followers would comment about spotting them around town, always noting how the couple was just as warm and engaging in person as they appeared online. What viewers couldn't have known was that among those watching their ascent to social media popularity was someone whose interest would turn deadly, a neighbor whose proximity to their life would ultimately end it. The irony of their story is haunting. Two young women who opened their lives to the world through the safety of a screen were ultimately vulnerable to someone just steps away from their front door. The digital fame they had built with love and positivity would become inextricably linked to the violence that claimed their lives. In videos preserved forever in the digital archive, Sequoia and Deasia remain frozen in time, laughing, loving, and living without knowledge of what awaited them. Their final posts, ordinary updates about their day, gained millions of views after news of their death spread, with comment sections transformed into digital memorials. Before we continue with the events that led to this tragic outcome, if you're finding this story compelling, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more of these important stories to light, ensuring that victims like Sequoia and Deasia are remembered for the lives they lived, rather than just how they died. And if you have thoughts about this case, we encourage you to share them in the comments below. Now, let's examine the circumstances that place these beloved content creators on a collision course with tragedy. While Sequoia Lamar and Deasia Morris built their digital presence with authentic content showcasing their relationship, just yards away lived a neighbor whose path would tragically intersect with theirs. Ty Dishon Stevens, then 23, resided in close proximity to the couple on Bonnell Drive. Born on April 16, 2000, Stevens maintained a low profile that contrasted sharply with the online visibility of Sequoia and Deasia. Unlike the couple's well-documented life, Stevens' background remained largely obscure. Public records revealed little about his education, employment history, or family connections. This information vacuum created a stark contrast. Two women who shared their lives openly lived next door to a man who moved through the neighborhood as a virtual unknown. They were just steps away from each other, one community member later noted. Living side by side, but worlds apart in how they connected with others. What we do know from police reports is that Stevens had prior brushes with the law, though minor in nature. His record included charges related to driving without insurance, hardly an indicator of the violence to come. Nothing in his documented history suggested a propensity for the brutal act he would eventually commit. Yet, beneath the surface, tensions were growing between Stevens and the TikTok couple. The proximity of their living situations created an unavoidable awareness. Stevens would have witnessed the comings and goings of Sequoia and Deasia, perhaps seeing them film content in their yard or driveway, observing their growing popularity through visitors or deliveries, or even hearing their voices as they created the videos that delighted thousands of followers. As their online presence expanded, so did the attention they received in the real world. Friends, fans, and fellow content creators would visit the couple, increasing foot traffic in the normally quiet neighborhood. For someone like Stevens, who maintained a private existence, this shift in the community dynamic might have been jarring. Police investigations following the murders uncovered what appears to have been a point of contention between the neighbors. According to witness statements, an argument centered around tires became the spark that ignited the deadly confrontation. This seemingly mundane dispute hints at underlying tensions that had been building. Witnesses reported hearing raised voices and the distinct sound of gunshots, police documents stated. What began as a disagreement about something as ordinary as tires escalated beyond all reasonable proportion, suggesting deeper animosity that had been simmering below the surface. The couple's continued creation of content portraying their happy relationship and home life stands in striking contrast to the developing hostility next door. In videos posted in the days before the shooting, neither Sequoia nor Deja gave any indication of neighborhood problems. Their content remained focused on positive interactions, relationship advice, and their typical playful dynamic. This disconnect between their online portrayal and offline reality raises questions about how much of their actual day-to-day experience they chose to share with followers. Like most social media personalities, they curated their content to highlight joyful moments rather than neighborhood conflicts or concerns. Some behavior analysts who later reviewed the case suggested that this very public display of affection, happiness, and growing success might have affected Stevens in ways that intensified over time. The constant reminder of the couple's bond, visible both online and in person, potentially created a psychological pressure point for a solitary individual. When someone feels isolated or unsuccessful, constant exposure to others' happiness can sometimes trigger negative emotions, noted one criminal psychologist who commented on similar cases. This doesn't excuse violence, but helps explain how proximity to joy can paradoxically foster resentment. As their TikTok following grew, Sequoia and Deja began incorporating more aspects of their home environment into videos, cooking in their kitchen, relaxing in their living room, or enjoying their backyard space. These glimpses into their domestic life, while connecting with fans, also inadvertently showcased their daily routines and vulnerabilities. From his nearby vantage point, Stevens would have witnessed the dichotomy between their public persona and private moments. He would have seen the camera go on and off, the transitions between performance and reality that all content creators navigate. This inside perspective, combined with whatever personal grievances had developed, created a dangerous foundation. The couple's visibility made them simultaneously accessible to thousands of adoring fans online and physically vulnerable to one troubled neighbor offline. Their openness about their schedule, daily habits, and relationship, the very authenticity that attracted followers, also eliminated the protection that privacy might have offered. In the weeks before August 29, 2023, the trajectory toward tragedy accelerated. The exact interactions between Stevens and the couple during this period remain partially obscured, known only through fragmented witness accounts gathered after the fact. What is clear is that a boundary was approaching, a point beyond which casual neighborhood tension would transform into deadly violence. As we continue examining this case, make sure to like this video and consider subscribing to our channel. Your support allows us to delve into these complex true crime stories with the depth they deserve. Also, leave a comment with your thoughts on how social media exposure might create unforeseen risks for content creators. Let's move forward to that fateful August morning when everything changed for Sequoia, Deja, and their thousands of followers. On August 29, 2023, residents of Huntsville, Alabama, awakened to what would become a day marked by violence and loss. For Sequoia Lamar and Deja Morris, the morning started at their shared home on the 4400 block of Bonnell Drive. The pair, known for their engaging TikTok content showcasing their relationship, were going about their regular activities inside their residence. At approximately 10:29 a.m., the Huntsville Police Department received urgent calls reporting gunshots in the area. Dispatch records show that officers responded immediately, arriving at the scene within minutes. What they discovered inside the residence would shock both the local community and thousands of online followers who had come to feel connected to the couple through their social media presence. The officers found both women inside their home, victims of multiple gunshot wounds. According to the Madison County coroner, Dr. Tyler Berryhill, who later confirmed the cause of death, the attack was brutal in its intensity. A total of 13 shots had been fired between the two victims. The medical examiner's findings painted a clear picture of a violent, deliberate assault rather than an impulsive act. The number of shots indicates an attack that went beyond any momentary loss of control, noted one investigator familiar with the case. This suggests a level of determination that's disturbing in its focus. As HPD officers secured the scene, they began collecting crucial evidence. Shell casings were documented and collected, entry and exit points were identified, and initial photographs were taken to preserve the crime scene in its original state. The methodical approach reflected the gravity of what had occurred, a double homicide that would require meticulous investigation. Neighbors who spoke to police provided critical context to what had transpired before the shooting. Multiple witnesses reported hearing raised voices preceding the gunshots, the sound of an argument that had reached a breaking point. These initial accounts revealed that the dispute appeared to center around tires, seemingly a trivial matter that had somehow escalated to deadly violence. This surface-level conflict, an argument about tires, has prompted deeper questions about the true nature of the tensions between Stevens and the couple. Given the established context of the victim's online presence and their neighbors' awareness of their digital popularity, investigators considered whether the public nature of their relationship might have contributed to Stevens' hostility. Social media creates complex dynamics in real-world relationships, one digital media analyst observed when discussing similar cases. What appears to be a straightforward disagreement about something tangible like property often masks deeper resentments about visibility, success, or lifestyle differences. Law enforcement moved quickly to identify a suspect. Based on witness statements and preliminary evidence, they issued a BOLO, be on the lookout, notification for a specific vehicle connected to Tyshawn Stevens. Surveillance footage from nearby properties had captured a figure matching Stevens's description, fleeing the residence in a silver vehicle shortly after the time of the shooting. The HPD deployed specialized units, including a SWAT team, to secure the broader area and execute search warrants related to the investigation. These tactical responses ensured both public safety and the preservation of evidence during the critical early hours. Meanwhile, officers continued interviewing neighbors and potential witnesses, building a timeline of events leading up to the shooting. What became immediately clear was that this was no random act of violence. The proximity of the suspect to the victims, the nature of the confrontation, and the targeted attack all pointed to a personal connection, a neighbor whose grievance had turned deadly. As news of the double homicide spread throughout Huntsville, the local community responded with shock and grief. For those who knew Sequoia and Deja personally, the loss was immediate and devastating. Neighbors gathered near the police perimeter, many struggling to comprehend how a disagreement could have led to such violence. They were such lovely young women, one neighbor told local reporters. Always kind, always smiling. I can't understand how anyone could do this to them. The impact extended far beyond Bunnell Drive. As word reached social media platforms, particularly TikTok, where the couple had built their following, digital communities began to mourn. Videos once filled with lighthearted comments and positive interactions became impromptu memorial spaces, with followers sharing condolences and expressing disbelief. The contrast between the couple's online presence, filled with joy, love, and connection, and the violent reality of their deaths created a particularly painful dichotomy for their followers. Many expressed feeling of personal loss despite never having met Sequoia or Deja in person, a testament to the authentic connection the couple had fostered through their content. As the day progressed, law enforcement officials confirmed they were searching for Stevens, who had fled the scene immediately after the shooting. His rapid departure from the area suggested consciousness of guilt and reinforced investigators' focus on his apprehension. The manhunt was officially underway, with both local police and eventually federal resources dedicated to locating the suspect. For the families of Sequoia and Deja, the day brought unbearable news. Shameka King, Sequoia's mother, and Dantes Morris, Deja's brother, would later speak publicly about receiving the calls that forever changed their lives. Learning that their loved ones, who had brought joy to so many through their online presence, had been taken in an act of senseless violence. We're halfway through this devastating account, and I want to take a moment to thank you for staying with us through this difficult story. If you're finding value in our detailed approach to true crime, please support the channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. And if you're interested in more in-depth examinations of cases involving social media personalities, check out our specially curated True Crime Stories playlist. The link is in the description box below. These cases highlight the unique vulnerabilities content creators face in today's digital landscape. Now, let's continue tracking how law enforcement worked to bring the person responsible for this tragic double homicide to justice. Following the discovery of the double homicide, the Huntsville Police Department's Major Crimes Unit launched an intensive investigation. The search for Tyshawn Stevens became the top priority as evidence at the scene pointed conclusively to his involvement. Law enforcement officials moved with urgency, knowing that every passing hour decreased their chances of a swift apprehension. The investigation progressed along several tracks simultaneously. Forensic teams meticulously processed the crime scene at the 4400 block of Bunnell Drive, preserving every piece of potential evidence. Shell casings recovered from the residence underwent comprehensive ballistic testing, which would later prove crucial in linking the weapon to the suspect. The trajectories of the bullets and their impact points told investigators a grim story of the attack's progression. Each piece of physical evidence contributes to the overall narrative, explained one HPD officer involved in the case. From shell casings to blood patterns, these elements help us reconstruct exactly what happened inside that home. DNA analysis and fingerprint testing added further layers to the investigative foundation. Forensic experts worked around the clock to process samples collected from the scene, adhering strictly to chain of custody protocols to ensure that all evidence would stand up to future legal scrutiny. This methodical approach, while time-consuming, built an airtight case that left little room for doubt about Stevens' role in the shootings. Witness statements provided another critical component of the investigation. Neighbors who had heard the argument and subsequent gunshots offered accounts that helped establish a timeline of events. Some had observed Stevens in the vicinity before and after the shooting, placing him firmly at the scene. Others recalled previous interactions between Stevens and the victims, providing context for the relationship that had deteriorated into violence. Digital evidence played a supporting role in tracking Stevens' movements. Surveillance footage from nearby properties captured images of a figure matching his description, leaving the area in a silver vehicle shortly after the estimated time of the murders. This visual confirmation reinforced witness statements and aligned with the physical evidence found at the scene. As these investigative elements came together, Stevens had already fled the immediate area. The Huntsville Police Department quickly issued a BOLO notification targeting his vehicle, alerting law enforcement agencies across the region to be on alert. This rapid response demonstrated HPD's commitment to public safety and their determination to prevent potential further violence. The search expanded beyond Huntsville as days passed with no sign of Stevens. Local authorities collaborated with state agencies and ultimately the U.S. Marshals Service Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force, a specialized unit with extensive resources for tracking fugitives across jurisdictional boundaries. This multi-agency approach significantly expanded the search radius and brought additional expertise to the manhunt. Search warrants targeting Stevens' property and potential hideouts provided investigators with additional insights into his background and possible whereabouts. Each location was thoroughly processed for evidence, with items collected and analyzed to further strengthen the case and potentially reveal where Stevens might have fled. The breakthrough came 8 days after the murders. On September 6, 2023, law enforcement located Stevens in Anniston, Alabama, approximately 100 miles from the crime scene. The combined efforts of local police and the U.S. Marshals Service resulted in his arrest without further incident, bringing the manhunt phase of the investigation to a successful conclusion. Following his capture, Stevens was transported to Madison County Jail, where the legal process began in earnest. Prosecutors wasted no time in filing formal charges, 2 counts of capital murder for the deaths of Sequoia Lamar and Deja Morris. The severity of these charges reflected both the premeditated nature of the crimes and the multiple victims involved. Given the gravity of capital murder charges under Alabama law, Stevens was denied the possibility of bail during his initial court appearances. This decision ensured he would remain in custody throughout the legal proceedings, addressing public safety concerns while the case moved forward. The prosecution began assembling their case, drawing upon the substantial evidence gathered during the investigation. The combination of forensic findings, witness testimonies, digital evidence, and circumstantial factors created a comprehensive picture of Stevens' actions before, during, and after the shootings. Defense attorneys initiated the expected legal maneuvers, filing motions regarding evidence admissibility and other procedural matters. Some reports indicated requests for a change of venue due to the significant media coverage the case had received. Despite these standard defense strategies, the evidence against Stevens remained compelling. A Madison County grand jury subsequently indicted Stevens on the capital murder charges, moving the case forward in the judicial process. As the legal proceedings entered the pretrial phase, both prosecution and defense teams prepared for what would likely be a high-profile trial, focusing on one of the most shocking crimes in recent Huntsville history. For the families of Sequoia and Deasia, the arrest represented only the first step toward justice. While nothing could bring back their loved ones, the apprehension of the alleged perpetrator provided some measure of closure and the promise that accountability would follow. The deaths of Sequoia Lamar and Deasia Morris left a void that extends far beyond the physical absence of two young women. For their families, the loss continues to manifest in profound ways that words struggle to capture. Sequoia's mother, Shameka King, has spoken about her daughter as a vibrant soul whose presence brought joy and inspiration. These aren't merely platitudes offered in grief, but reflections of the genuine impact Sequoia had on those around her. Deasia's brother, Dantes Morris, has similarly expressed how his sister was considered the star of their family. The siblings and parents of both women now navigate a world permanently altered by violence, their grief compounded by the senseless nature of the crime. Family members consistently emphasize that Sequoia and Deasia should be remembered for who they were in life: compassionate, engaging young women with deep connections to their community, rather than being defined solely by the circumstances of their deaths. They were defined by the lives they led, rather than the tragic circumstances of their deaths, one family spokesperson noted, highlighting the danger of reducing vibrant individuals to victims in a headline. The Huntsville community responded to the tragedy with various forms of collective mourning and remembrance. Vigils brought together neighbors, friends, and even followers who had only known the women through their online presence. These gatherings served dual purposes: honoring the memory of Sequoia and Deasia, while creating spaces for collective healing. A GoFundMe campaign established by Sequoia's family helped cover immediate funeral expenses, while simultaneously functioning as a digital memorial. Supporters contributed not only financially, but also by sharing memories and messages of condolence, creating a lasting tribute that extends beyond physical monuments. Local leaders and activists have used this case to advocate for improved community safety measures and thoughtful discussions around conflict resolution. Without implementing sweeping legal reforms, these conversations represent a community's attempt to prevent similar tragedies through education and awareness. Online, the legacy of Sequoia and Deasia continues in unexpected ways. Their social media accounts, once platforms for sharing joy and connection, have transformed into digital memorials where followers still leave messages months after their deaths. Videos that once garnered comments about relationship goals now receive messages of remembrance and reflections on life's fragility. This digital afterlife highlights a modern reality. For content creators, their work often outlives them, creating a complex legacy that continues to touch lives long after they're gone. The comment sections on their final posts reveal thousands of people processing grief for individuals they never met in person, but with whom they felt genuine connection through screens. Their story has prompted important discussions about the unique vulnerabilities social media personalities face. The visibility that builds careers can sometimes expose creators to risks their offline counterparts might not encounter. When content creators share their lives, they unavoidably reveal patterns, locations, and personal details that could potentially be exploited. Several content creator safety organizations have cited this case when discussing the importance of privacy boundaries, even for those who make their living through openness. The paradox of building authentic connections with an audience while maintaining necessary safety precautions remains a challenge for many in the digital space. As the legal process continues, the case remains in the pretrial phase, with prosecutors working to illustrate that Stevens acted with intent and premeditation. Given the severity of the shooting and Stevens' flight from the scene, the evidence continues to support the capital murder charges filed against him. Under Alabama law, these charges could potentially lead to a life sentence or, under certain circumstances, the death penalty. While no verdict or formal sentencing has yet been rendered, the comprehensive investigation has built a strong foundation for the prosecution's case. For the families of Sequoia and Deja, the pursuit of justice through legal channels represents just one aspect of their ongoing journey. No court verdict can fill the void left by their loved ones, but accountability provides some measure of closure in the face of senseless violence. The story of these young women, their lives, relationships, and untimely deaths, serves as both a celebration of the connections they formed and a sobering reminder of how quickly violence can shatter worlds, both digital and physical. As we conclude this account of Sequoia Lamar and Deja Morris, we ask that you take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Your support allows us to continue bringing these important stories to light, ensuring that victims are remembered for their lives rather than just their deaths. Before you go, check out our specially curated True Crime Stories playlist, link in the description, where you'll find more in-depth examinations of cases involving social media personalities and the unique challenges they face in our increasingly connected world. These compelling stories offer important insights into the intersection of digital fame and personal safety that everyone should understand. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.